Hello, everyone. It's Heather. Sorry for the couple minute delay there. I was just doing some last minute technical setup. I hope you enjoy this lovely photograph I took. That's my background today. This is from the city of Lucerne, Switzerland, where we went on our trip to Europe that I'm going to talk about today. Thank you to everyone who is joining me live today. I'm really excited to have you here. And if you're joining late, or you're watching this later, again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to watch this live Q&A or live chat. And if you are new to my channel, my name is Heather, and this channel is Heather Travels. And the focus of my channel is travel, and we talk about all sorts of things related to travel. I have lots of videos on my channel, almost 550 at this point, and much more content coming. So hopefully, if you find this channel interesting or helpful to you in any way, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. I also want to say thank you so much to everyone who is a new viewer or new subscriber to my channel. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. And on that note, I want to start today's live stream with a little remark about something that happens when you have a growing channel, okay? And I'm sure any other YouTube creator who has seen growth of their channel over time knows exactly what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to address this really quick here at the beginning. Okay, when your channel starts to grow and you start to see, I have some videos on my channel that have tens of thousands of views. I'm still a small channel, but I'm growing all the time. I have steady, slow growth of my channel all the time, which I'm very excited about and really appreciate. But when your channel grows, the good thing about that is you get more viewers and people seeing your videos, which is great, because for you, the viewer, that means that hopefully you're learning something from my channel, which is my goal. My goal is to help you to have better travel experiences and to get the most out of your travel experiences. And so hopefully you're learning something or getting information that's helpful to you in your travels. And it's good for me because the more people that watch my videos, the more money I earn from my YouTube channel. So it's a win-win the more we grow, okay? And so please continue watching, liking, subscribing, sharing my videos, commenting. All of those are much appreciated. Views are especially important. So thank you for watching my videos. Okay. However, when you have more people viewing your videos and seeing your videos, you also get more comments. And there's a lot of different types of folks out there. And the nicest way I could put this is some people do not leave the nicest comments. Okay, so here's something a little bit unique about my channel or other channels where children are in the videos. Hi, Sherry. Thanks for joining. When you have children under 18 in your videos, like I do, which at this point, it's only my son, Ben, but I've had my channel's over 4 years old now. So, when I started, Megan was only 14. YouTube has a special requirement for those of us who include our children in our videos to protect the children. They require us to either have comments turned off completely so nobody could leave comments on my videos, or we are required to hold all comments for review. So this is a requirement that YouTube places on channels that have children in their videos. So my channel is one of these, and so I have to review every comment that people leave on my videos. I can't just ignore them. I have to literally manually review every single comment that someone leaves on my videos. So even though when you type a comment, it looks like it's going down there, YouTube is actually holding that in a place for me, and I have to either approve it or delete it, okay? Now, 99% of the comments I approve right away. It's no problem. And actually, I can select a few trusted viewers that I know aren't going to leave mean comments, and I can approve every comment by that viewer, for example. But I do have to approve all the comments that are left on my videos. And so that means I have to read every single one. And some of them aren't so nice. And the bigger your channel gets, the more of those you're going to get. So I just want to address that really quickly to say something about that. Okay, first of all, in my recent series on our cruise on Harmony of the Seas, there's a couple of interesting phenomena I've noticed that I wanted to mention. Okay, one is people freak out when a YouTube creator, and I've seen this in the comments in other videos too, sometimes it's like they get mad at you if you tell them the truth. And what I mean by this is the goal of my channel, like I mentioned earlier, is to help you. I want to help you in your travels. So if the only thing I ever showed you was everything's great and rosy and fabulous and perfect and nothing ever goes wrong and nothing unusual ever happens and everything's just perfect all the time and it's the most fabulous thing ever and this is the best trip we've ever been on, even though I said that about the last trip or whatever, if I never told you, at this place there were really long lines, or on this particular day it was really, really hot, or, you might want to be aware of this situation when you go to this place. If I don't tell you those things, I'm not helping you. When I go on YouTube channels to learn about something that I'm interested in, someplace I might want to go or something like that, I want to know what it's really like. I want to know what that experience is really like. I don't want them to sugarcoat it and only tell me good stuff, because that's not going to be helpful to me. So I hope that you guys understand that and you agree with that. People will say, you're complaining. We're not complaining. We're telling you how it is. Okay? We're sharing with you the reality of what that experience is like. There's 6,000 people on an Oasis class cruise ship. That's reality. When you have that many people, there's going to be things that are affected by having that many people on a ship that size. So when I tell you about those things, it's not that we're complaining, it's that we're trying to make you aware of the reality of the situation. So I don't find that it's going to be helpful to you for me to just not tell you all the stuff. You know what I mean? So hopefully people understand that. Another thing, this is just a side note, something I find so funny, and I see this all the time on other creators who've made videos about Disney Cruise Line. If we say we like Disney Cruise Line, people freak out. And I don't know what it is. There's a subset of YouTube viewers. I don't know if what it is they actually really want to go on a Disney cruise and they're mad at us because we got to and they didn't, or what, or they just really hate Disney. I don't know what it is, but there's a whole bunch of people who, if you say, well, I really like this on Disney better than I like it on Royal Caribbean, for example, they get so mad at us. And I just think that's funny because I'm like, why are you mad at me? I don't understand. They're mad that they can't go on a Disney cruise and somehow that's my fault. I don't know. And I also hear all the time, well, I don't want to ever go on Disney because it's too expensive. Well, there's a lot of cruises that are expensive, but you don't hear about people saying, I don't want to go on that one or that one or that one. They only say it about Disney, and I don't get it. I just think that's weird. But anyway, okay. And then the other thing I wanted to say about comments on videos is there's a difference between a constructive comment and a mean comment. Okay, let me give you an example. Just recently, a gentleman wrote a comment on my video I did a while back where I showed a new Samsonite suitcase that we bought. And his comment was, this video would have been better if you had explained the features of the Samsonite suitcase. And I was like, what does he mean? And so what I did was I went back and watched that video again to see what he was talking about. And he's right. I just played music over the part that I was showing the Samsonite suitcase. And if I remember correctly, there was a reason I had to do that. Something happened with the sound or something in the background when I was recording that part of the video. And I couldn't use the audio that I had there. And so I had to just put music over it. And so he had a point. It would have probably been better if I had explained. And I think I did originally, but something got messed up. But I appreciated that comment because that was constructive. And when I do get a comment that's constructive criticism, that's what I do. I go back and I watch that video again because I want to see what it is that they saw. I want to see what are they talking about, because I'm always striving to make better quality videos and I want to make sure I'm addressing the needs of my viewers. And so I always go back and watch the video again and see if, oh, that's a really good point. I should try to do that next time or whatever. So I really do appreciate constructive criticism. That's totally fine. And I'm always going to approve comments like that. But that's different than mean comments. If you're just saying something horrible about me, you don't know me, or you call me a name, or you just say something like, you're so stupid, or you're dumb, or whatever, or you're a horrible person, or the lady who told me that I need to draw on my eyebrows. That was a good one. Okay, those are just mean. There's no purpose in making a comment like that. And so those are going to get deleted. I'm not going to approve mean comments. And one of the reasons I don't approve mean comments is because they're not helpful. They don't contribute anything to the video or the conversation about the topic of the video. And also, I don't want to subject my other viewers or my own kids who watch my channel to those mean comments. They shouldn't have to read that stuff. So those are going to get deleted. And then one more thing I want to say is, if you make a mean comment about my children, or you call my children a name, you're blocked. I'm going to block you from my channel. I will not tolerate that under any circumstances. So I just want to lay that out there. That's my job as a mom. Is to protect my kids. So I will not tolerate anybody saying anything mean about my kids or calling my kids names. So just know that about me and my channel. Okay, so today's live Q&A is about our trip to Europe that we just took. We took an 18-day trip to Europe. It was an experience, okay? I'm glad we got to go to Europe, and I'm glad my kids got the experience. I'm not going to lie, this was a tough trip. And it wasn't tough for the reasons you might have expected. We heard all these things in the news about the problems with the airports and the lost luggage and all of that stuff before we went. We didn't have any of those problems. We didn't have problems with our flights. We didn't have problems with our luggage. Was fine. We didn't lose any of our luggage. Our luggage was exactly where it was supposed to be the whole trip. It was a combination of things. Number one, I would say, was the heat. It was exceptionally hot in Europe when we were there. Switzerland, which is what this picture behind me is, was the only place that wasn't just terrible, terrible hot. And then the last 2 days that we were in London, it cooled down, but it also rained. So the heat was really, really difficult. Yes, thank you, Sherry. Okay, so the heat was really, I particularly, of the three of us, it was me and my daughter and my son. And I really physically have a very difficult time with heat. Like, Ben even looked at me at one point, was like, Mom, my face was just beet red. I'm just dripping in sweat. I just don't handle, my body doesn't handle heat well. And I feel really, really sick. And Megan has a pretty difficult time in the heat too. She feels pretty sick. And so when you're hot like that, it makes it really difficult to enjoy what you're doing. And the other thing, I guess, would be crowds. Crowds was really tough. It was very, very busy, especially in Paris and London. And then a couple other things, I guess, that made it kind of tough. One was my ankle, which I'm going to talk about more in a little bit. I had a very difficult time with my ankle on this trip, and I'm still in a lot of pain, actually. Megan commented yesterday that she said, you're kind of back to where you were when we were in our old house before we moved. We actually sold our house in May. It was an 1880 Victorian with a lot of stairs. And we sold our house and moved into where we live now, which is all on one level. And that made a huge difference in my ankle from my injury. If you haven't followed along, go back and find the playlist on my channel about my injured ankles. It's a long story, but she's right. They're just all the steps, and I'm going to come back to that. And then the other thing is 2 of our hotel rooms, the hotel room in Paris and the hotel room in London, were very, very small. I mean, like smaller than a cruise ship cabin small. They were really tight. And that's difficult when you're in a hotel room for any length of time with 3 people. Like, there was no place to set our luggage, and it just wasn't the most comfortable situation. It wasn't any place you could really relax. So that was kind of tough too. But just a combination of factors made it a a challenging trip, but it was still, we still had lots of positives throughout the experience. A lot of things that were better than others. So, but I'm going to talk about all that today. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat and I will answer those. And they can just be general travel questions too. And if you have any questions watching this chat, if you're watching it later, please leave your questions in the comments. And I do always answer everyone's questions in the comments. So be sure you ask me if you have any questions. Okay, so the main thing I wanted to do in this live stream today, besides answer anybody's questions, is in my live stream where I talked about that we were going to Europe, which I did about 3 weeks to a month ago, right before our trip, I shared with you the 3 things I was most looking forward to and the 3 things that I was most worried about. And I told you in that live stream that I wanted to revisit those in this live stream when I got back and tell you how that stuff worked out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to share with you is the 3 things I was most worried about. Okay, so the first thing I was most worried about was losing our luggage, because there was so much stuff in the news about losing our luggage. And I'm happy to tell you we didn't have any issue with this at all. And I talked in that other live stream about how I really wasn't worried because we had nonstop flights. We weren't changing planes anywhere. And we would get to the airport plenty early, which we did. Now, I want to make a quick note about that. We got to the airport when we were in the parts that we were flying domestically, which was our last leg from Boston back home to Minneapolis. We got to the airport 2 hours ahead. And on the international parts, which was Minneapolis to Paris and London to Boston, we got there 3 hours ahead. We literally walked right on the plane for most of those. So if we had gotten there even 10, 15 minutes later, we would have missed those flights. And the reason was it just is taking so long right now in the summer of 2022 to get through checking in and getting through security. It's just such a long process. So you have to really be patient. But I would tell you, if you're traveling right now, get to the airport really early. Minimum 2 hours for a domestic flight and 3 hours for an international flight, because you'll miss your flight if you don't get there that early. And then along with the losing our luggage, I was also a little bit nervous about maneuvering our luggage around places because we had to pull it. We didn't really have any trouble with this. I mean, we did have big, heavy suitcases, but, and even though we had big, heavy suitcases, we still had to do laundry in the middle. And Ben and I still ran out of clothes at the end and ended up going to Target and buying more clothes because it was so close to the end of the trip. We were in Boston at that point, and I said, I'd rather just go buy some more clothes than try to find a place to do laundry again. So, yeah, but there were a couple places where we did have to pull our suitcases quite a distance. The 2 spots I'm thinking of was when we got to Paris. And we were very, very jet lagged and tired because none of us could sleep on the plane. And we had to walk a really good, yeah, no, you're right about that, Sherry. Hold on, I'll come to that in a second. We had to walk we couldn't find our hotel. We had taken the RER train, the regional train from Charles de Gaulle to Gare de Lyon, which our hotel was actually very close to, but we didn't realize it at the time. And we could not find our hotel for the life of us. And we kept having to stop like on every corner and check the map again. And, the streets are all wacky and stuff in Paris. And it took us forever. It was very hot and we were dragging these suitcases and we were really tired. And then the other place was when we got to our hotel in London after our Eurostar nightmare, which I'll come back to that. We got there in the middle of the night and again had no idea where the hotel was or where we were going and had to drag our suitcases from Waterloo Station to our hotel when we didn't know where we were going. So that was not fun. But as far as like losing the luggage, we didn't have any issues at all. Okay. You went to Europe at the worst time. Yes, I have already made a note to myself. I don't ever want to go to Europe in the summer again. Not only the heat, and the lack of air conditioning, which was especially bad in Paris, but the crowds was just terrible. And I'm sure this summer was especially bad because of the pent up travel demand. But yeah, it was bad. The thing that really struck me was the lack of air conditioning in places that you would expect there to be air conditioning. Museums, public transportation, buses. It was like they had the heat on. It was horrible. It was really, really hot. Now, I made sure to book hotels that all had air conditioning. So our hotel rooms were all fine. But it was the public places in Paris, especially, was just really bad. And I think it was a combination in some places of, I think they did have air conditioning, but it just couldn't keep up because of the crowds and like doors being open and things like that and how hot it was. I mean, it was really hot, not just hot for Europe, but hot for any place. We're talking 99, 100 degrees. So it was really bad. And it was also very difficult to find water, especially in Paris. So yeah, that was tough. The heat was really tough. Okay, so but the second thing that I was actually worried about ahead of time was money. And this did turn out to be kind of an issue in a couple different ways. The things I had said ahead of time was I was worried about having enough money, like running out, which I did. And I was worried about what form of payment to use, which did also turn out to be a problem. Okay, so a couple things with money. I had said ahead of time that I was going to take, yeah, exactly. Yep. And yeah, Sherry's right about this. This is what I meant about the pent up demand. Tons of people chose to travel to Europe this summer because of not having traveled during the pandemic, kids being out of school, and the vaccine testing. Yeah, because that was definitely a factor for us, was that testing thing being dropped. Okay, so what was I saying? Money. Okay, so I had said that I was taking my debit card. I tried to get a Revolut card ahead of time. I tried 3 different times to get a Revolut card, if you're familiar with that, and it wouldn't approve my identity. I uploaded my passport. I sent a photo of myself. I did all of that like 3 times, and it wouldn't give it to me. So I was kind of frustrated with that. So I took just my Capital One MasterCard, which has no international fees and also is touchless. I could tap it, which was very handy because many, many places in Europe, they want you to just tap. So I used that more than I intended to because of that. And then I took my debit card, my bank debit card, and I didn't have any trouble using my debit card except in one place, McDonald's. And it was 2 different McDonald's. It was a McDonald's in Luzerne, Switzerland, and it was a McDonald's in Paris. Both places, the McDonald's, you have to order and pay on a kiosk, and then you just go up and get your order. And both places, the kiosk declined my debit card. So we ended up having to pay with cash. There was a way you could do that, but it was really annoying that was the only place my debit card didn't work. What I didn't realize ahead of time, and what turned out to be a bummer, is that every time I used my debit card, I got a cross-border fee, like a bank fee. And it was anywhere from a few cents to $1 on every single transaction. So after I got home and I was entering all my expenses in my bank account and reconciling my checking statement, everything, it was cross-border fee, cross-border fee, cross-border. I didn't add it up. I mean, it wasn't a ton. It was probably no more than $20 in total, but that was annoying, to have all these little cents fees on everything. And then the other thing that was kind of quirky was Paris, we were fine. We didn't have any cash in Switzerland because I wasn't able to get Swiss francs ahead of time. I had euros, which we made a point of using them all up. So we used up all our euros, and then we had British pounds. And we had a very difficult time using our British pounds in cash. And there were 2 reasons for that. Number 1 was nobody was taking cash. In London, they just didn't want to take cash. And I think it's a combination of things. I think one reason they wouldn't take cash is because, and who knows, maybe this was even pre-pandemic, they seem to have realized that they don't need cash anymore, that they'd really prefer that everybody just use cards. They just really don't seem accustomed to accepting cash. They really don't want to handle cash. So yeah, Sherry, be aware of that. They didn't like using cash in London. They just seem to have gotten comfortable with everybody using cards for everything. They didn't really want to use cash. We did manage to use up our cash, our British pounds in London, but it was difficult. The other thing is, and I wasn't aware of this before we left, they just changed Britain's money. They changed it from paper, cloth.
No, it actually wasn't a problem because we had the new stuff.
Yeah, I know, but there were still places that didn't want to take cash at all.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
Yeah, we had the new stuff, which is what I'm talking about. Yeah, they just changed from like paper cloth or whatever it was money to plastic. Is it plastic? Yeah. It feels weird. It's actually very smooth. And it was in the Harry Potter shop, wasn't it, Meg?
Yeah.
When Megan went into this shop near the Palace Theater where we saw Harry Potter, The Cursed Child, she went in to buy a copy of the script. And she wanted to use cash, and she asked, can I use cash? And they had a sign on the register that said, they will not accept the old bills, but they will accept the new bills. And so then Megan asked the lady about it, and she took out one of the old bills and showed it to her and said, this is the old bills, and this is the new bills. And thankfully, we had the new bills. So the people that would take cash would take our bills because we had the new kind. But I didn't know that Britain had changed their money, like what it's made out of, just apparently shortly before we went there. So that was kind of interesting. Okay, so, and then the other thing was, gosh, the exchange rate just killed me. Everybody was all, right before we went, oh, the euro and the dollar are the same. Okay, well, first of all, they're not the same. The dollar still isn't worth as much as the euro. And the dollar definitely is not worth as much as the Swiss franc or the British pound. So these are expensive places that we were going to anyway. Paris is expensive. Switzerland is expensive. London is expensive. So we were going to 3 very expensive places, and we were getting very little for our dollar. Our dollar was not worth very much in these places. So it was a very expensive trip. I spent probably about $5,000 more while we were there than I intended to. And I did probably budget too low going into it. But I mean, we spent very little. I mean, some days we only ate one meal and we bought barely anything. And I mean, it just really added up fast. So it was an expensive trip. So that was, I was worried about money and I was worried about how to pay for things. And that definitely did prove to be kind of a problem. Okay. The third thing that I was worried about, which was definitely a problem, was steps. And going back to my ankle injury and my disability with my right ankle, I was worried about the steps, and I was right to be worried. There were many, 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 many steps everywhere we went. They were almost impossible to avoid. I had a very difficult time with the steps. It really slowed me down, and I was in a lot of pain. So definitely, the steps is a problem. These are not disability-friendly places. Europe as a whole, it's getting better, but of the 3, I would say London was probably the best. And I mean, you would see accessible accommodation stuff here and there, but it's not everywhere. There's a lot of places where, like, I saw people in wheelchairs, not very many, but every once in a while I would see someone with a wheelchair and I'm like, how are they going to do this? I couldn't figure it out. And I mean, I really had to depend on Megan to help me a lot with the steps. We used the subways a lot, the tube and the metro and stuff. And that was very difficult because you got to take steps down there. Sometimes there was a lift, but not always. And, even like to get down off a bus, you got to go down steps. And it's everything. Anytime I have to step down is a problem. Stepping out of a taxi, stepping off a curb, stepping down the steps of a building, anything, it all adds up. And by the end of the trip, I was in agony. On the one night we were staying in Boston, I took off my sock and put my leg up on the bed, And Megan came over and looked at my ankle and she says, "Oh my gosh, Mom, it's swollen to the size of a softball." It was really bad. So that was definitely something I was worried about, and I had plenty of reason to be worried. So if you have difficulty with mobility and you have any kind of disability with like walking and stuff, Europe is tough. It really is. It's very difficult. I've been there several times before, but it was hard. So just be aware of that you might want to get a really good travel agent who might have some familiarity with these things, or like that could recommend places that it might be easier to go within Europe, because it was very difficult. Maybe do like a guided tour, but even that, you're still going to have to get on and off a bus. I don't know. It was tough. There's no way around it. That was one of the most difficult things. Okay. Sherry has a question. Were you able to see the Tower of London? Heard they have Jubilee flowers and it's sold out through December. Yes, we did go to the Tower of London, and thanks to a viewer on another live stream I was participating in, might have been Gary's, I got Super Bloom tickets, is what it's called. Super Bloom was amazing. It was beautiful. Megan loved Super Bloom, didn't you, Meg? Mm-hmm. She loved Super Bloom. That was one of her favorite things. They have filled the moat of the Tower of London with flowers. And you will be happy to know, even though the tickets are sold out through December, they are keeping that permanently. It says on one of the signs, and this will be in my upcoming video about that, they have decided to keep the moat filled with the flowers as a permanent habitat for pollinators and butterflies and all those things going forward. So it's not going anywhere. So even though you need tickets right now for Super Bloom as part of the Platinum Jubilee, the flowers are going, it's beautiful. It's really, really neat. We really enjoyed it. It was raining a little bit when we were there, but it was fine. And I got some great pictures, and there's a video coming about that. So yes, and we went to the Tower of London. Super Bloom was not busy, and we enjoyed that a lot. We did that first. Tower of London was extremely busy. And unfortunately, the kids didn't get to see the crown jewels because the queue for the crown jewels was an hour and a half long. And I can't stand in a queue that long. So we didn't get to see the crown jewels. I've seen them before a couple times, but Megan and Ben didn't get to see them. So, but yeah, we did go to Tower of London, and we went to Tower Bridge up on top, which I had never done before. So that was pretty cool. Okay. Any other questions right now? Okay, the other things that I talked about in that previous live Q&A before we went to Europe were the things I was most looking forward to. And I will revisit those and tell you how those went. Okay, so one was going to Switzerland. And yes, I was most looking forward to going to Switzerland, and that was my favorite part. Switzerland was my favorite part. Switzerland was absolutely beautiful. Switzerland was cleaner, greener, prettier, cooler in temperature, and the people were much, much, much more friendly and helpful than France. So we were actually very glad that we went to Paris first and then went to Switzerland, because if we had gone to Paris after we went to Switzerland, Paris would have probably made us cry. It was just the difference in how friendly and helpful the people were, and just the beauty of it and everything and how it felt and stuff. And actually, I would say that Luzerne was the least crowded place we went to too. We had just a really enjoyable time in Switzerland, and that was definitely my favorite part of the trip. And we all agree we would like to go back to Switzerland and see more of it. There's some other things in Switzerland we'd really like to see, and we would have happily stayed there longer. So I was right about that. Looking forward to Switzerland. Switzerland was a true highlight of the trip. Okay, Sherry says, Porters and airport and can top street food vendors like for fish. No, yeah, I didn't use any of those, so I don't know. But yeah, they really liked their cards in London. Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. Okay, now be careful, Sherry. Ireland is not what Ireland. Ireland or Northern Ireland, because that's different. So yeah, Scotland and Wales are part of the UK, and Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but the Republic of Ireland is not. Does the Republic of Ireland use euros? I don't know what they use now. They have different money though, so you're going to need different money if you go to the Republic of Ireland. So I don't know. It depends how long you're going. However long you're going and how much you need to take twice as much. That would be my recommendation. Take more money than you think you need. Okay. The second thing that, yes, cabs did take cash. We did pay for our taxis a couple times with cash, but they still preferred card too, honestly. Okay. Second thing I was looking forward to was the Harry Potter stuff. Harry Potter stuff and shows. We did 2 Harry Potter things basically. We went to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is a total of a 5-hour theatrical production. It's shown in 2 parts, and there's a 2.5 hour break in the middle, and everybody goes and has dinner. So, and that's exactly what we did. We had lunch at a pub right next to the theater first, and then we went to part 1, and then on the break we went nearby to a place we had sandwiches and pastries. We didn't go real far. We didn't have a reservation or anything anywhere. And then we went back for part 2. We really enjoyed the show. The theater was very hot. I don't know if that theater, it's a beautiful theater. I don't know if it has air conditioning or not. If it did, it wasn't making any difference. It was very, very warm in there. We did have very good seats. I really liked our seats. We were right on the aisle in what's one level up from orchestra? What was that called? Was it dress circle? I can't remember. But anyway, we had really good view, right? Straight on view, really good. At the very beginning, we were a little like, are we going to like this? But it got better. And we liked part 2 better than part 1. But boy, part 1 ends on a major cliffhanger and sure makes you want to come back for part 2. So it was really well done, and it had amazing lighting effects and special effects. I mean, like you could sit there through the whole show going, how the heck do they do that? I mean, it was just mind blowing. It was really cool. So we really enjoyed that. And then the very next day, we took a tour on we went through Golden Tours, which turned out to be very smart, because on that particular day, they were having another British rail strike. And if I had tried to get out there on my own, we would not have been able to get there because the trains weren't running. It was a Saturday, and it was one of the days that they were having a rail strike. So because we had booked with Golden Tours, we just took the tube or the underground to Victoria Station, and then we left on a Harry Potter themed bus, which was very air conditioned. I was so happy. And they showed us The Prisoner of Azkaban on the bus, which is the one with the night bus, because we were riding the night bus. And on the way there, it's an hour outside of London. It's an hour northwest of London, Warner Brothers Studios, London, in Watford. So you're not in the city of London anymore. You're way out. But that was kind of cool, because then the kids got to see like a regular London life, suburban, small towns, One thing that was really noticeable, the drought and all the grass in the UK is dead. It was really kind of upsetting. The one cab driver we had told us it hadn't rained in 6 weeks, and everything was dead. Like in Hyde Park and Kensington Gardens and everything was dead. It was horrible because of the heat and the drought. But okay. The Warner Brothers Studio Tour, I was happy that day. I was excited that day because we went to the Warner Brothers Hollywood Studio Tour in Hollywood in Los Angeles in January. And so we had experience with that, and we knew it was very high quality and very well done. And it was something we were going to really enjoy. And we did very much enjoy it. The place is very, very nice. It's where they filmed all the Harry Potter movies over 10-year time. They have all the props and costumes and sets and everything that you get to go through like a museum, really. And they had really nice dining venues with cool Harry Potter themed treats, and an amazing, really big gift shop. So if you want anything Harry Potter, which we did buy some stuff there, They have like everything you could ever want. So that was a really nice full day experience. And probably one of the best things about it was that entire experience was air conditioned. So it was really nice. And same thing as when we went to Warner Brothers in Los Angeles, and I talked about it in that video that we made about that. We got there early. We started in the morning, and when we went through the tour, it was not very busy. And the later in the day it got, the busier it got. And it was the same thing in London. So if you're going to a movie studios tour place, whatever one that might be, that would be my recommendation. Get there as early as you can in the day and take your time and make a day out of it, because by the end of the afternoon, they get very, very busy. Okay. And then shows was a mixed bag. We went to 3 different shows. We went to, what was the first one? Oh, the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which was really good. Then we tried to go to Come From Away at the Phoenix Theater in London, and that was a bust. And that's a long story, and I'm not really going to get into it, but there were 2 problems. One was, there were 3 problems. One was we couldn't find any place to have dinner. And so we were hungry and irritable and tired, and it was not a good situation. The second problem was we could not understand anything they were saying. I couldn't figure out, if you don't know the story, Come From Away is the story of Gander, Newfoundland, a town in Newfoundland in Canada, where a whole bunch of planes got diverted to and landed on 9/11. And it's a true story about how the town welcomed and took care of all these people on all these planes that couldn't go anywhere because all the flights were grounded. It sounds like a really neat story, but it was not what we were expecting. And we couldn't figure out if the British people were trying to do a Canadian accent and failing, or if, the British actors, or if they were switching back and forth between a British accent and a Canadian accent and an American accent. It was very weird. They were having issues with the accents and the dialects, and we couldn't understand them. And so that was already very difficult. The only thing that was helping was the theater was not full, and there were empty seats in front of us. So we had a nice clear view. We were, again, right on the aisle. I paid good money for our seats, and right in the center aisle in the orchestra on the main level. And so we could see really good. So even though we were having trouble understanding them, we could still see really well. 30 full minutes into the show, one of the ushers brought in these 2 huge men, big, tall, huge guys. And it was very obvious that their seats were on the outside aisle, all the way around the other side of the theater. But she, for some reason, brought them in the center aisle and then was trying to get the entire row of people, this is a few rows in front of us, to stand up and let these guys all the way in. And people were like, what? The show was going on, and this was very disruptive. And so she realized, okay, that's not going to work. And she's like, okay, everybody just sit back down. And then she just turned and kind of looked around and pointed to the empty seats right in front of us and said, just sit there, which were not their seats. And so they sat right in front of us, these humongous guys, and it was basically like you built a brick wall in front of us. We could now see nothing. All we could see was these men's backs, and we couldn't understand anything, and so we left. Because I wasn't about to get up and try to go find the usher and tell her, you got to come move these guys. Why did you put them there? And, I wasn't going to do that. And we were tired. We were hungry. It was a bust. So that one was disappointing because it just didn't go well at all. But honestly, I don't know that we would have enjoyed the show anyway, especially because we couldn't understand it. And then the third show we saw was in Boston when we got together with my son, Andrew, who lives out that way. We flew from London to Boston, and we saw Anastasia, which was very good. It was a touring Broadway production. We had really, really good seats there too. And it was a very, very well done production at the most beautiful theater I've ever seen. Citizens Bank, is that what it was? Citizens Bank Opera House. Steps away from our hotel. So my son met us at our hotel, and he bought us a very nice dinner. It was actually the day before my birthday. So he bought us dinner for my birthday at the restaurant we were staying at the Hyatt Regency. And then it's literally right across the street from our hotel was the theater, and the theater was absolutely beautiful. It was look it up. That theater is so pretty. And the theater was built in 1928, sometime in the 20s. And so the decor of the theater and the setting of the show, because the show is also in the 1920s, fit with each other. So that was really cool because the show went with the theater that we were sitting in. It was a very nice experience. We had a really good time and we all really liked it. So, I mean, it was me and my 3 kids who's, different ages and gender and everything. And we all really enjoyed the show. And some of the performers in that show were really, really good. So it was a really good, enjoyable show. And I was very happy I finally got to see that because I'd had tickets to Anastasia to see it in Minneapolis way back at the beginning of the pandemic, and it kept getting moved and canceled and I never got to go. So mixed bag on the shows, but 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 went really well. Okay. And then the third thing I said I was really looking forward to, and this one was kind of a bummer, was I was really looking forward to royal stuff and the things for the Queen's Jubilee. And the reason I say it was kind of a bummer was because a couple of the places that I wanted to go, we didn't get to. And that was kind of my fault, but also kind of just limitations on time. I wanted to go to Windsor Castle, which is outside of London, and that's where the Queen lives now. And we didn't get to go to Windsor Castle. Was that because of the rail strike? Or yeah, I think it was the rail strike. Or it was because it was closed. It was tricky with the royal palaces. Different royal palaces every royal palace had 2 days a week it was closed. And this is like Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace. We actually walked 1.5 miles on my bad ankle with Megan hauling bags of shopping from Harrods to Kensington Palace, which took us forever because I kept having to sit down and rest. And we got to Kensington Palace and it was closed. And then by the time we did that, it was too late to go to Buckingham Palace that day. Did it start? No, it was just hot. And then when we got back to the hotel, I looked up when they were open. And then the next 2 days, which was our last 2 days that we could go, Buckingham Palace was closed. So we didn't get to go to Buckingham Palace either. We did make it back to Kensington Palace, and we saw the parts of Kensington Palace that you can go in. And that was actually really, really interesting because Megan and I just watched Young Victoria, which is the movie with Emily Blunt, right before we went on the trip. And the whole upstairs of the part of Kensington Palace that you can go in is about Victoria and her when she was young and how she grew up there and everything. So that was perfect because like everything that was on the signs and in the rooms and everything was exactly like what we had just learned about in that movie. So that was really cool. But so I was disappointed with the royal stuff because I didn't really get to do much of it. We didn't get to go to Buckingham Palace. We didn't get to go to Windsor Castle. We did go to Kensington Palace and we did go to Tower of London, but I've been to Tower of London before and there was nothing different about Tower of London itself that isn't always there. The Super Bloom was cool. So Super Bloom was probably the best thing that's in any way related to the Queen's Jubilee. Oh, there was one other thing that was related to the Queen's Jubilee that I did think was really cool. There's a special exhibit. It costs extra upstairs at Westminster Abbey. The Queen's Jubilee or Platinum Jubilee exhibit at Westminster Abbey, which they constructed special. They started building it in 2018, and there's a special exhibit up there that has some really unusual, cool stuff that nobody else has gotten to see before and stuff like that. And the views from up in that gallery of the cathedral itself were amazing, but you were not allowed to take photos. And my son Andrew said, Mom, you should have just snuck a photo anyway, but I'm not that person. I'm a total rule follower. So I didn't take any pictures, but it was really, really beautiful. And it was a really neat view. I did take some pictures out the windows of the outside because you could see like the grotesques, the gargoyles and stuff outside. And I got some cool pictures of that, but I didn't take any pictures inside. Yes, Sherry. Hi, Sunny Travels. I completely agree with you. Why were they bringing people in 30 minutes into the show? Keep in mind, this is only an hour and a half show.
Yeah.
Hour and a half show with no intermission. I'm sorry, if you're that late, you missed it. Why were they bringing people in that late? I have no idea. Good call. Should have made the men trade seats with us.
They would have been able to see over our heads.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. I didn't think of that. I was just so mad at that point. I was like, "Urgh." Yeah, that was not a good experience. Okay. See, I think I might like, I don't know though. I really kind of didn't like it. I mean, even the parts I could understand, I didn't care for it. It was kind of, I don't know. It just kind of, I didn't like it. So I don't know what to say. I mean, but obviously I didn't get to see the whole thing. So I don't know. But anyway, okay. So that is everything that I was looking forward to and that I was most worried about and how those turned out. So does anybody have any questions? Sunny has a question. How long were you in Europe? Our trip was 18 days. We left on August 3rd and came back on August 20th, which was my 50th birthday. And that day sucked. We had to get up at 3:45 in the morning after having seen Anastasia the night before in Boston, and we were very, very tired, and fly home. And then we lived 2 hours from the airport, so I had to drive home from the airport, and I was like, I was so tired. I came home, we ate lunch, I took a 4-hour nap, and then I did laundry the rest of the day. That's how I spent my birthday. So yeah, 18 days. For future trips, I mean, this was good. It was a big trip. It was a weird route. We started in Paris. We flew from Minneapolis to Paris. We spent some time in Paris. Then we took the train from Paris to Luzerne, Switzerland, which is what's pictured in my background here. And then we took the train all the way back. Oh, I know what I should tell you guys. I need to tell you about the Eurostar thing. And then we took the train all the way to London, and then we flew London to Boston coming back because my son lives out in New England and we were going to see him. So that it was kind of a quirky route, but the main reasons were I really wanted to take my kids to London because I studied in university in London and I love London. I amazed myself. I still had the tube map memorized. I hadn't been there in 15 years. And as soon as I looked at the tube map, I'm like, took me like 3 seconds. I'm like, okay, kids. And they're like, I just went and they're just like following me. Like, I guess mom knows where she's going. And then Paris and Switzerland was really important because my daughter was supposed to go to Paris and Switzerland for a high school trip. And it got canceled because of the pandemic and she didn't get to go. So those were really important for me to take her to those places. Yes, check on the days that the palaces are open. Because one of them, it wasn't open like Sunday and Monday. One of them, it was closed on Monday and Tuesday. And one of them, it was closed on Tuesday and Wednesday. It was like staggered like that. And just the way we hit them was wrong. And so it messed us all up. So yeah, definitely check on the day the palaces are open. Tower of London is open every day because that's a huge tourist attraction. But the royal palaces, like where the royal family actually resides, those have 2 days a week each that they're closed. So yes, be very careful with that because that could really mess you up if you want to see those. There's also Hampton Court Palace. I don't know if you can go to St. James Palace. I'm not sure about that. There might be more, that I'm forgetting about. But okay. If you have a question, I'll go over an hour if you guys have questions. But let me tell you about the wait, do I want to tell about the Eurostar nightmare or should I? No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm going to save it for the video. Let's just say that day we thought was going to be
the worst day in our life.
It was horrible. It was literally the worst travel experience I've ever had in my life.
Our souls left our body. Luckily, they came back.
Megan turned to me at one point and said, in all seriousness, "Are we going to die here?" And she wasn't kidding. It was a terrifying experience. I really thought, I'm surprised nobody did die, honestly. I mean, or at least get really sick and have to be hauled away in an ambulance or something. It was a very bad experience. You may have seen on the news just in the last couple days about the people who had to evacuate their train in the Channel Tunnel and go out through the service tunnel to a different train, and how they were terrified and everybody was having a panic attack. Yeah, it was kind of like that. But we weren't on the train yet. Eurostar's having some issues. Let's put it that way. Eurostar has some problems that they need to work on. I'm going to save that for you. So stay tuned for that video. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we really thought that day was going to be it was a travel day, but we thought it was going to be a nice, relaxing day, because all we had to do was take these trains. We were taking a train from Lucerne, Switzerland to Basel, Switzerland, which we had already done, and that one went fine. And then we were taking the train from Basel back to Paris. That one was also technically fine, except for the massive police presence on board. Do I talk about that in the video?
I don't remember. I think so.
I think I do. There were all these, that was interesting. So stay tuned for that. And then we had to take the Eurostar, which I have taken the Eurostar before and it went great. Not this time. We had to take the Eurostar from Paris to London. It was a disaster. It was absolutely horrible. It was the worst travel experience I've ever had. And I would make a Misadventures in Travel video about it. If you haven't seen those, by the way, check out my Misadventures in Travel playlist. Hold on, Molly. I'm going to get to your question in a second. On my channel, it's a series of videos that I've made about times in our travels that things have gone wrong. And usually it's because we made some kind of mistake. And so in those videos, I tell you about the thing that went wrong. I tell you what happened. And then I tell you the lesson to be learned from it. I can't do that with this one, and which is why I'm not going to make a Misadventures travel video about this, because we didn't do anything wrong. It was not our issue at all. It was completely a problem with the Eurostar. And I don't even know who to blame technically. I mean, it was just a mess. It was literally the worst travel experience I've ever had. And I've been in a train crash, and what else? What else have bad things have been made videos about? Run out of gas, all sorts of things. So yeah, it was really bad. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be about halfway through our Europe series. Okay, keep in mind, coming up on my channel, I am going to get to you guys' things. There's still 2 more videos in our series of videos from our Harmony of the Seas cruise that we took in Royal Caribbean in June. And then before the Europe videos start, I still have a whole series of videos coming from when we went to Walt Disney World in July. So you're going to have to wait a little bit for the Europe videos to come. That's part of the reason I wanted to do this live stream today, was to touch base with you about Europe, because it's going to be a while before those Europe videos come. But there's going to be a whole bunch of Walt Disney World videos before that. So if Disney isn't your thing, just hang in there, stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed so you get notifications so you see what videos are coming. Okay, let me go back to these folks. Okay, Molly, I'm heading to Europe in December. Yay! Is it over your Christmas break? How much money would you budget for me? Molly, that depends on a lot of things. Where in Europe, because there's a lot of variation, you know, there's a lot of difference between Romania and England. And how long are you going, and where are you staying? Do you need me to account for paying for accommodations too, or like, are your folks paying for that and you just need to know like how much you need for spending and things like that? Okay, 2 weeks. Oh, yes. Ireland and England. Okay. And I have much experience with both. 2 weeks. Okay. Ireland and England. I have lived in both places. And like I was telling Sherry earlier, I don't know if you caught that, Molly. Okay, and you're staying at a hotel and for spending. Okay. So 2 weeks, let's see. Do you need to figure out for just you? Let me know that. Let's see. I'm going to come back to that. Just Heather and Sherry show. Okay. So many videos to make. Somebody said something about Broadway. Oh yeah, I missed this. Hi June, thanks for joining. Okay. Okay, the Broadway touring company was really good. Some of those people have kept in touch all these years and some go back to Newfoundland. Oh, so you saw the Broadway touring production, Sherry. Okay, yeah. See, that's what we had tickets to originally. And here in Minneapolis, and it kept getting canceled and changed and stuff. And then like when they did finally have it here in Minneapolis, it was during the Omicron surge and I didn't feel comfortable going to the theater. And so I ended up selling my touring Broadway tickets. So I do kind of regret that now because I wish I had seen it with the touring Broadway production because I'm betting it was better. The theater that it was in London, the Phoenix Theater, was really small. I mean, the set was good, but didn't you think, Meg?
Yeah, it was really small.
It was really small and seemed kind of local. And I'm not saying the performers weren't good performers, but I don't think it was at the same caliber of quality as the Broadway production or the touring Broadway production was probably. I have heard it's closing in London. It might have closed already. And it's closing in New York in October, I think. But I have heard it's supposed to go to Canada. So that might be interesting. And, you know, maybe Canadian folks, it'll have a different take on it. But okay. Looks, I'm going on inaugural transatlantic. Ooh, somebody's going on the inaugural transatlantic of the NCL Prima. Sunny, what is that? Where is it starting and ending? I'm assuming it's a more southern route. Is that coming up here soon? Is that like in October, November? Let me know. Okay. So yeah, Molly said staying in a hotel for spending. So, okay. Just you. Okay. So you need money for food. Oh, Sherry, you're going solo also. I guess I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. Normally it's great. It's usually great. It just wasn't great this time. They're having issues. Okay. Southampton to New York City. Oh, in a month. So, okay, cool. So, Sunny, do you live here or do you live in the UK? Do you have to fly over there first? Kind of curious about that. I really want to do a transatlantic. That'll be cool. Boy, I don't know. How do you feel about that? That'll be cool to do a transatlantic, the initial transatlantic on a brand new ship. But I'm also a little wary sometimes of shakedown cruises like brand new ships because they maybe don't have everything all, you know, their ducks in a row and everything right away. So I'll be real. Oh, you live in Minnesota. Oh, cool. So you're flying over there. So you're flying over. Are you doing anything in London or anything first? Or are you just going over and getting on the ship right away? Have you ever done a transatlantic before? Here's me asking the viewers all the questions. Okay, I got to get back to Molly. 2 weeks, just her. Well, you probably know what you need for the hotels because you're staying for the hotels. Or you're staying, you know, you probably have your hotels reserved. And so you know exactly how much those are going to cost. Like I was, oh, nice. Sweet. Okay. Like I was saying to Sherry earlier, be careful because you need both pounds and look up for me quick. What is the Republic of Ireland? Are they on euros? Sorry. My trusty assistant's back here. Because I'm almost positive the Republic of Ireland is part of the EU, isn't it? I can't remember. Anyway, you're going to need 2 types of currency. If you can find a travel agent near you and do what we did and maybe get just a little bit of euros. Okay. So Ireland is on euros and England is on British pounds. So your money's going to go a little farther in Ireland than it is in England. So keep that in mind. Here's what I would say. Whatever you would think you would spend are you going to London or like small places or, yeah, I mean, if you're going to London, it's like a big city. The most comparable city I would compare London to would be New York City. So whatever you think you might spend in New York City, or if you've ever done like a trip in a big city, take that amount for what you would spend on food and things during the day, food, transportation, entertainment, and times it by 1.5. Okay. So say you think, okay, I'm going to spend $100 a day for myself in New York City, but I'm in London. So it's actually going to be $150 a day I'm going to need. And I'll tell you what it was. We spent on average for this entire trip, some days were much more expensive than others. We spent an average of $250 a day for the three of us. So that was me and the two kids, and that was food and transportation. I mean, like, you know, we had Oyster cards that I had pre-bought for London. Do that if you can. I would recommend getting the London pass if you're going to London, and then you get Oyster cards included, and those give you unlimited access on the tube and the underground and the buses and the water taxis on the Thames. You can get a similar type card for the DART, the Dublin Area Rapid Transit, which is the buses and the train in Dublin. Let's see. But I disagree. It was terrible. I mean, yeah, it's been worse, but we did not get a good exchange rate. But yes, I agree with you. Don't use cash. They didn't like taking cash. Nobody wanted to use cash. If you have a credit card, not a debit card, if you have a credit card that has no international fees, and bonus if it's a tap card, if it's a touchless card that doesn't need to be the chip inserted or swiped, you can just tap it. Hold on. This card, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, is not touchless. Okay, this is my Chase Disney Visa. But this card is, and the way you can tell, come on, is it has, shoot, I can't, it won't do it. It has a little, it looks like Wi-Fi on the back side. It looks like a Wi-Fi symbol like on your phone, and that means you can use it for touchless. But the only way you're going to know for sure is call your issuing bank. Sorry, I'm here. Call your issuing bank and ask them, does this card have any international fees, and can it be used touchless? Yeah, walk everywhere. Normally I do recommend that, Sunny, except my ankle injury was a nightmare for me. So yeah, some of us can't walk as easily as others. But yeah, I would really recommend using an actual credit card, not a debit card, because of the international fees, and as much as possible. So yeah, but I mean, so yeah, try to budget whatever you're for. So for Ireland with euros, I would just budget a little more than you would budget for visiting a city here in the US or a place here in the US. And for the pounds, I would take whatever you think you would budget for here in the US and times it by 1.5 or even 2, even double, and take that. So I hope that helps you, Molly. It really kind of depends how much you eat and what you're going to do and things like that. But yeah, I hope that kind of helps. We definitely needed more money than I thought we did. So err on the side of take more than you think you need. If you have some left over and you can keep your budget down, great. but you know, running out of money is a bummer. So, and like you have to call home and like, I need more money, you know, so, okay. Queensferry Hotel. Okay, so does anybody else have any last minute questions? We are well over an hour. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. And I'm really excited. I haven't even started editing the videos yet. Right now I'm, right now I am completely focused. We just had a little under 2 weeks here between getting back from our Europe trip and my kids having to start school. And their starting school is a big deal because, first of all, neither of them has attended school in person since before the pandemic. They've done school completely online from home. And so this is a big deal for all of us. It's a big deal for them because they haven't been around anybody for 2 years. And it's a big deal for me because I'm going to be all alone because they're going to go off to school and I'll be home by myself all day. So I'll just be here at home editing all the videos from Europe while they're at school. And it's a big deal for Megan because she's going to college. So that's a big step too. So my oldest son, Andrew, has already started school. He started in the middle of August. He started back to his classes. He's in his second year of law school. So, and then Megan will be a freshman in college and Ben is starting high school this fall. So big changes for everybody. So we're kind of focused on that right now. And I haven't even gotten around to starting to look at any of the footage that I took in Europe or anything. I think I figured out though, yeah, I'm going to have 17 videos coming from our trip to Europe. So you have that to look forward to. I was very careful this time to write down as I was filming what I was filming about because sometimes when I travel, especially when I'm using multiple pieces of camera equipment, I lose track of what I did. And like a couple times this happened here, I was filming on one camera and the battery died or something like that. And I had to switch to a different camera. So this time I was very careful to take notes. Like I make a note, part 1 is on this camera, but then the battery died. And so part 2 is on this camera. Because when I transfer all the footage to my computer, I need to know where to look to pull everything together to edit it. It's more complicated than you realize. So anyway, but again, 2 more videos coming from our Harmony of the Seas cruise, and then a series of videos coming from when we went to Walt Disney World over the 4th of July. Oh, I did want to tell you guys, I don't know if I've talked about this yet. My uncle, who the reason we went to Florida at the beginning of July was to take my dad to see my uncle who was sick with lymphoma. He did pass away while we were in Europe. So my dad told my son, who then told me, that he's really happy that I made him go see him because his sister passed away of Parkinson's basically back in December. And she lived in Arizona and he had not seen her in 5 years. And I feel so bad about that my dad had not seen his sister in 5 years before she died. So, and he didn't see her before she died. And so when my uncle got sick with lymphoma, I'm like, we have to go down and see him, Dad. But my dad hadn't flown anywhere in 15 some years. And so I told the kids, I'm like, kids, we got to take Grandpa. And so we took him down there and he was really happy that we did that because then he got to see him before he passed away. So he did pass away while we were in Europe. But so I'm glad we went to see him too. But that is the reason we went to Florida that time. But to make the trip a little more palatable for my kids and for me, you know, because you don't want to just go somewhere to see someone who's at the end of their life. We added on the stuff going to Walt Disney World too. So that's why those videos are coming. So I just want to throw that out there. If you have someone in your life who you haven't seen in a really long time, but they mean a lot to you, make sure you make a point to go see them because you never know what could happen. You know, you never know when it might be the last day. So Anyway, just a thought. Okay, so I thank you again, everyone, for joining me for this live stream. I hope that you learned something from it. I hope it was helpful to you. Again, if you are watching this video in the future and you were not able to join me live today, and you do have questions about Europe or our trip to Europe or anything like that, or any travel questions, please put those down in the comments below and I will be sure to answer those. And I think this is going to be my last live stream for a while. I did do 5 of them in July, and then this one. Like I said, I have a lot of content coming, and that alone is going to keep me busy for quite a while. But if you enjoy these live streams, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up down below. And again, thank you everyone for your support. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for all of your participation, commenting, liking, all of that. I really appreciate each and every one of you who watch my videos and support my channel. Have a great day, everyone, and safe travels.